In business, there's no such thing as luck. It takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to be successful. It's either you take the risk or lose the chance. And that's what happened to the third founder of Apple. Yes, you heard it right. There were 3 founders at the beginning of this now multinational technology company. In this video, we'll talk about the heartwarming tale of 2 friends succeeding against all odds and the tragic story of the third player in the business. Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Maslow's. Before we move to the tragic story, let's first talk about the humble beginnings of Apple. It all started with the first founder, Steve Jobs, 21 years old, and the second founder, Steve Wozniak, 26 years old. They began building their tech empire on a random day in April 1976. Steve Wozniak is the technology wizard, while Steve Jobs was in charge of sales. They were the perfect combo. Well, it's evident because the firm they founded together is now worth trillions of dollars. Now, you might be wondering who used to be the third co-founder of Apple. He is no other than Mr. Ronald Gerald Wayne, a real-life example of letting your past ruin your future. The painful lesson he learned was worth several billions of dollars. Ronald was born in Cleveland, Ohio in 1953. He had an ordinary life, yet he had big dreams around him. He earned a degree in industrial design from New York's Industrial Arts School. After that, he did self-study on electrical and mechanical engineering and product creation. When he was 22, he moved to the West to look for opportunities. He worked in various jobs until he decided to start his own business in 1971. His first business, which was specialized in slot machines, which only lasted for about 5 years. The sad truth is, he may be gifted with the wisdom in engineering, but not with running a business. I discovered very quickly that I had no business being in business. I was far better working in engineering, an uncharacteristic act for most businessmen. After his business collapsed, he spent the entire year paying back everyone. He felt guilty and had the strong desire to make it up to all the people who trusted him. This business was his first, and it really traumatized him. This is where he realized that he needs to avoid risks. Until one day, he met the 2 Steves, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. If you like this video, do not forget to smash that like button. Steve Jobs approached him for a possible business partnership, but it didn't go well. Despite that, Jobs pursued and did his best to get Ronald's approval. And through Jobs' persuasion and hard work, their plan was a success. Ronald finally agreed to partner with them. They shared ideas, and sometimes that led to debates. The 3 of them were very eager and passionate to carve a path of unlimited possibilities. Before we forget, from the start, it is clear for them that the company is predominantly owned by the 2 Steves, which is fine with Ronald because his past business failures still haunted him. The division of the company goes like this: 45 each for Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, while Ronald Wayne gets the remaining 10%. For the job roles, they divided it according to their main forte. Steve Jobs handles the electrical engineering and sales. Steve Wozniak does the mechanical engineering and documentation. And lastly, Ronald Wayne is in charge of the internal corporate document systems. Plus, he also designed the first ever logo of Apple. All was great. All was going well. Their first ever product, which was used in a high school math class, sold 200 units and was sold out within 10 months. Amazing. just when their company was starting to boom, a shocking decision was made by Ronald Wayne. He decided to resign and sold his share for $800. You are watching Maslow's Finance. Back then, 20% of small businesses failed within the first year. Then, 50% within 5 years. Given Wayne's anxiety from business failures, he played safe and backed out before everything went bad. Who would have thought that his decision to resign as the third co-founder of Apple made it one of the biggest missed opportunities ever made in the field of business?
Did you have any doubt that Apple would be a successful company?
None. It was the right product at the right time.
So why did you sell out?
My passion wasn't computers in the first place, it was slot machines. I also knew that I was standing in the shadow of giants. And as a result, I knew I was never going to have a product of my own to develop.
I'm sure you're wondering just how much he would have made today. Take a wild guess. 10% of Apple's share is now worth $229 billion. That's a huge sum of money. Although it's impossible to predict the exact amount he would be worth today, one thing is for sure. Wayne might have been living a comfortable life with his multi-millions. Well, Wayne's life didn't stop when he left Apple. He still continued to work elsewhere in California. He stayed busy pursuing his passion in a different field. He opened a collector's store dealing in stamps and coins. However, luck is definitely not on his side. His business collapsed, and to add another cruel twist of fate, he was robbed of his life savings. Oh man, what a tragic incident. But Ronald Wayne is definitely unstoppable. Currently, he lives in a mobile home park in Nevada. He still collects coins, stamps, and some artifacts. In 2010, he published 2 books. Even though he would never work for Apple again, Ronald Wayne is still in contact with the two Steves. In fact, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak continuously praised Wayne in their interviews. It may come as a surprise, but Wayne often reiterates that he does not regret his decision to leave Apple. He's happy to live with that choice, and he believed that it was the best option. However, do you want to know what his only regret is? In the 90s, he sold his Apple contract for only $500. After 15 years, guess what the price of the piece of paper is? $1.5 million, and it was sold in an auction. When Wayne found out about it in the news, he said, "In that, you have the story of my life, and that ends the story of Ronald G. Wayne, the guy who was there at the beginning of one of the most successful companies in history, but decided to turn away." We know that you have a lot of what-ifs in mind right now. Actually, we are in the same boat. Tell us your thoughts in the comment box below, and don't forget to subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next episode of Maslow's.